Today, we are diving into legacy, the legacy you leave. What is legacy to you guys?
The top thing for me is a financial legacy.
All right, money man. Each finger will stand for a particular component of legacy that I think may be, in fact, more important than money.
You die twice. Once with your physical life is over, and the second time when nobody mentions your name any longer.
Passing down mindset is a part of your legacy.
In an immigrant family, having that mindset, guys, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Are you taking time to consider, are you helping make sure your kids are going to have an enjoyable life experience? Do you enjoy your life experience?
You can have a great health life. You can have a great mindset. You can have all of these things if this is what we focus on.
DNA I define as a log of decisions made by our ancestors. Great DNA? Yeah, I'll take that.
One of the main pieces of living by example that I'm trying to create for people around me as well as my kids is to show them that you can heal yourself. There's 7 billion lives around us that are equally as important to our own. We can literally change the world through generational healing.
Welcome to the Good Life.
Welcome back. This is the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast. I got Stu here. Say what's up, Stu.
What's up, y'all?
Kobi is in the building. Say what's up.
What up, though?
And I'm Chris. As always, we're diving into how to design your life with extraordinary health, wealth, and mindset. Again, find us everywhere you listen and watch: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. By the way, leave us a review on iTunes if you can. If you've been listening and you've been diving in and we've been adding value to your life, do us a favor and drop us a review, right? Drop us some stars and let people know that this is a good place to get some value. We really would appreciate it because we got such good information for you, such good value. We got another one for you, another good one for you today. Stu, what are we chatting about today?
Today, we are diving into legacy, the legacy you leave, and it's in honor of Father's Day. So, it's something that, fathers are always thinking about, like, what kind of legacy are they going to leave their kids? How are they going to, provide for them, etc. But there's a lot more that goes into it than just the money. That's what we're going to get into tonight.
Huge. That's exciting. Before we really dive into it, though, it's scrolling on the bottom of your ticker right there. Guys, remember, we have our mid-year event that is coming up July the 24th. It's a Sunday. We're excited about, again, presenting this value for you. Anybody that is striving to design the life that they deserve, having extraordinary health, extraordinary mindset, extraordinary wealth capabilities, the people that really want it, we're here to make sure that we're giving you what you need to get there. So sign up for that mid-year event. If you sign up early, we're entering you into a raffle. That raffle is going to give you some free books, some things to shape your health, wealth, and mindset. That's what we're doing for you guys. But sign up. There is the link down below, bit.ly/TGL mid-year. We are hosting that event again, July the 24th. It's going to be awesome, won't it, Stu?
It will be. And we're calling it the Summer of Success. And, we've already done this once in January. We had a great crowd turnout. And we're coming back at it, just new and improved. We're always getting better over here and trying to provide more value. But yeah, from here, I say, Kobi, you got any comments on that before we dive into client stories?
Sign up. Get there.
Boom. Done. Listen to the man. All right, so client stories. I'll go ahead and kick one off. That's pretty fresh for me. So I've had a pretty awesome breakthrough with a client that has a lot of like OCD tendencies, and she has had in the past a very negatively charged internal dialogue about these tendencies. She's just not thrilled with the fact that she has to keep things a certain order. She has to have certain house rules. And what's been happening is she's been bringing in some new friends. They've been bringing attention to these. It's just, it's kind of like a different quirk with how it's been going for her. And after probably 2 or 3 sessions of talking about this, quick 45-minute sessions, she actually has released all the negative energy around this. And she's recognized that she just has a higher standard of cleaning, and it's okay. Everybody has higher standards or different stringencies on certain things in their life. And for her, physical and even like spiritual, energetic hygiene of who's in her space. That's just, she's recognizing and loving this part about her. And so she's able to kind of like set these boundaries and let people know, like, hey, these are some of my house rules, simple stuff, kick your shoes off, things like that. But what she's been working on is actually being able to verbalize her boundaries and enforce them and become more assertive. So it's been a really nice transition for her in really only a couple of weeks. So that's what's been exciting for me. I'm curious. Client stories for you guys.
No, yeah, that's a big one. Anytime we get those breakthroughs, man, that's a big deal. Obviously, over here on the wealth side of things, being in the financial space, the big thing that everyone or most people are talking about right now is the markets. I don't know if you've seen the markets lately, but not doing too well. We've kind of talked about it a few weeks back, but just in general, the conversations that I've been having really all boiling down to the same thing is, what is your strategy, right? What's your strategy when things get tough? Do you have a financial strategy when things get tough? It's really about making sure you plan for your financial life. It sounds super basic, but it's in these times that people start to panic. They start to have emotional things happen, and they realize how much they lack a plan. Right? There's a saying that we say, or many people have said before, but right, most people don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan, right? And that is really what's popping up right now. Is people? It's just showing that you just kind of failed to plan. That's all, right? Like, you didn't plan to fail. You didn't plan to not have money right now during this period, but maybe we didn't plan as well as we needed to. So let's start now in the midst of this. So that's been the huge takeaway. It's been a dominant conversation that we've been having with a lot of people, is all right, now is the time to really start planning if you haven't already. And if you have a solid financial plan or have had one, then keep working the plan. That's what a plan is for, right? It's for turbulent times. If you just keep working the plan, it doesn't matter what the economy is doing. So planning is the key. I think that was the big takeaway this week.
Thanks for sharing, brother. On here on the health side, with Cut the Noise, this is kind of both with current clients, prospective clients, and individuals that aren't clients that I'm talking with now. And what I'm seeing is a lot of comfort, a lot of resignation, or I think resignation is the word I'm looking for. But folks are resigned to kind of what they see around them, right? And their current level of health. It's kind of like, and I found that in a lot of ways, one of the roles that I play uh, for individuals is them kind of seeing like, oh, there's a different way of living that's possible. There's a different level of health to be achieved. Like, it doesn't just have to be where I am right now, and I'm comfortable with that, because whether it's within my family, my group of friends, people in my industry, people in the office, people on my team, we're all about the same. And I've clients who have broken through that and are pursuing higher levels of health, and they actually, it's kind of like crabs in a pot. They're actually like being pulled down by people around them. It's like, you know, oh, so I see oh, so you're losing a lot of weight now, yeah, right? Like, wait, what? That's a bad thing? Oh, yeah, you eating grass now, huh? Won't eat these burgers with us anymore, right? It's like, wait, huh? Me taking care of myself offends you? Right? Or I'm good where I am right now. I just need to like maintain, right? I just need to stay kind of where I'm good right now. Like, things are okay. Things are good. Guys, I'm not going to speak any French right now, but what is that? What is that? Excusez-moi? Pardon?
You said you were not going to speak French.
You broke the rules. Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Allow me to ask a question right now. What are we doing? What are we doing? We settling for mediocrity? We're good. We're comfortable. Everything is all right. That's ridiculous, guys. That's insane. That's insane. And I know when folks start to really take a look, they realize that they've just settled for the easier path. Right? They're not as comfortable as they want to. They're just comfortable here rather than trying to stir things up to go for the unknown or whatever they think is out there. So this is more of an encouragement to maybe this is the first time you're hearing that, you can shake it up. You can get more. Like you can go for more. It doesn't have to be just like let's maintain. Let's stay right here. It's all good. Let's not shake anything up. I don't know what dust is gonna get kicked up if I stop moving this here old body. I don't know. Come on, guys. Let's shake this up a little bit. Like, come on. Why can't you get more athletic in your 30s and 40s? Right? Why can't you push things a little bit? Why do you have to be resigned to dad bod? What on God's green earth is that? What is that? Dad bod. God.
Father's Day shout out here.
Right?
I know,
What is
right?
that? Shout out
Exactly.
Father's Day. But what is this dad bod? Did you just birth a human? No? Oh, okay, cool. What is dad bod? What is that? That sounds like pure laziness to me. Why don't you take your kids and teach them how to take care of themselves? Why don't you be a better example? All right? Why don't you show them, hey, listen, you can do this and take care of yourself at the same time. You don't have to let life just beat you up. Life just snatch your soul. Take your dreams. Good. Y'all got me sick. You got me ready to throw up. Blah.
Tell us how you really feel, Kobi. Tell us how you really feel about this situation.
I mean, it's ridiculous, guys. I'm hearing it too much, right? And if you see somebody else changing that, stop pulling them down. If you don't want to do it for you, gosh darn it, let them live their best life, okay? Stop pulling down my clients. They're out here trying to get to a different level, okay? I'm tired of them coming. Man, you won't believe these guys,
Listen.
And you know what? They got rhino skin. They thick.
Listen, we
Tick
call
skin,
them
man.
We call them dream stealers. We call them
It's
dream
crazy.
stealers. They're out there. They're out there for real. The people that are close, they see you making advancements and then they try to pull you right back in.
Oh,
It's a lot.
eating grass now? Well, it's actually just a salad. Ever heard of it? No, it's a salad. I'll have a burger too. It's not that big of a deal, but you should try one. This is a tomato. It's actually a slice of a tomato. It's not bad. Cucumbers. Ever heard of them?
Crazy concept. Like I think for me, if you're listening to this and you're getting kind of triggered, I'm gonna speak directly to you right now. What bothers you about somebody else changing their lifestyle? Why is everything your business, and who are you to cast judgment, you audience of people where someone else is trying to make improvements on their life? If you don't want to, fine, it's your life. You may have 3 people here that disagree with the priorities of which you should probably be taking care of your health from a mindset and a finance standpoint, but let other people be. The 3 of us have all gone off on our own and made our new things. And we have encountered these dream stealers before. They don't mean shit anymore. But when you're starting and you're trying to break out of that gap, leave them alone. Your jealousy, your envy, your fear, your insecurity is all being thrust in front of you. And rather than you face these demons, you're up here trying to pull somebody else down. And shame on you, sir. Learn some type of self-control over your negative shadow.
You're free to be negative. You are free to be negative over there. Over there, like off here.
Yep.
That way.
There's no
That way.
negativity headed towards the good life, right? No negativity headed towards the
Craziness, guys. Craziness. But, for those who are out there making these decisions, these hard decisions, this is also to encourage you.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going, because
right.
You are inspiring them more than you think, right? They're standing there And in their quiet moment, they're like, man, I see what he's doing. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, maybe not 10 years, but one day I too will eat a salad. One day I too will go out there and what is it? Jim? Yeah, I'll go there.
The Gime. It's the Gime.
God.
The
And
Gime.
guys, by the way, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to eat salad. You don't have to do any of that. There's plenty of ways to I hate this saying, to skin a cat, but there's plenty of ways to go about it.
I never thought about that expression until
Yeah,
just
it's terrible. It makes no sense. I mean, maybe it does make sense, but I ain't out here skinning cats, so I don't know. Yeah.
We don't need any more Siamese cats running around here.
No.
All right. Topic for the day. First of all, thank you for the passion that you've already brought us into today, as usual. So topic for today, legacy. Now, the reason I brought this up, I alluded to it earlier, is Father's Day is right around the corner. A lot of fathers out there are consistently thinking about the legacy that they're leaving their kids. My concern is, are they overly focused on the financial component of the legacy leaving behind? Don't get me wrong. And before Chris comes at me with a jab, it is incredibly important to have that legacy set up. But there's so much more to life. That's the reason why we have Health, Wealth, and Mindset on this show. And I think everybody out there that doesn't spend all of their time thinking about going through combing, making money, if you have free time, then there's something else you can do with that legacy that's not just financial. So let's get clear on some definitions real quick. Fellas, what is legacy to you guys?
So before I throw the jab, no, I'm joking. I'm not going to throw one, but honestly, when I do think of legacy, the top thing for me is a financial legacy. It's in assets, to be specific, right? Like really having things that we own that are assets that allow things to continue to pass down and grow generationally, right? Like that is a legacy at the top of that list for me. But I do also believe there are other things in the legacy. I really think legacy is about, tradition. It's about values, specifically like family values. Like a lot of times you get the last name legacy, right? Where your last name means something. And that really is just based on your your reputation, your integrity, the values that your family stand for. Having a family crest, right? Something along those lines where it means more. That's something that passes down. That's a legacy. I think heavy component of it is financial, but then also just the values and name that gets passed down as well. I think that's also it.
Okay.
All right, money man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll go ahead and acknowledge the money outside, aspect of this. I think it's a little hard to talk about legacy and not acknowledge that. I think that is what we've been taught to come first. But I'll come with a jab, as in a 5-finger pow piece here. Each finger will stand for a particular component of legacy that I think may be, in fact, more important than money. Y'all ready?
Go.
Your reputation. I'll give you that. You did state that, right? Faith or outlook, faith, mindset, habits, and DNA. Yes, the helix, actual DNA.
You went on mute.
You muted yourself, brother.
Went on mute.
Last thing we heard was DNA.
DNA. Yes, there's the helix, DNA. Now, why do I say that, right? And, the world try to quiet me, but I'm going to get louder. You know what I'm saying? And because I think, if I think about me, for example, my family, my father, my mother, don't necessarily have a ton of money. But when I went out into the world and I look back and I look around now, I feel I was better equipped for life from this point moving forward, or from the point in which they pushed me out into the world moving forward, because of the reputation that they have, right? The Asare name carries a certain sense of like, oh, they're good people, right?
Mm.
They're honest people, right? They're good people to be around, right? Their reputation, the faith, as in when I face difficult situations, I have places to turn, right? Or just moving through life, man, if you want to call it manifesting or whatever you want to call by moving, right? Moving through faith. And I'm not necessarily talking about religious sense, although that is for sure a part of it. But I think there's a way also of like being rooted, standing on something, right? And a mindset, a particular way of moving through life and looking at things in a particular way. I think my family, being an immigrant family, being one that we had to build from scratch, in a completely different place, having that mindset, I've guys, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's kind of like really helped me and set me apart in situations where I probably had no business, right? Had no business being in. And then habits, right? Whether they be health habits, time habits, money habits, all these way of eating, way of being, just like way of doing things, being like about things, right? And I see a lot of people that were left a whole lot of money, trust fund kids or whatever you want to call them. They have the assets are there. But in fact, in a lot of ways, the assets is actually kind of like rob them of the ability to move through life in a particular way, right? It's kind of like it's kind of weakened them in a lot of ways. It's been a crutch for them in so many different ways that they didn't develop a good reputation. They were kind of like, terrible kids, right? And I'm not saying all of them are bad. I'm saying that some of them definitely have that reputation. And then, habits. They don't have They don't have good habits. They don't know how to work. They don't know how to go about things. They don't they have terrible habits, right? And then DNA, this is one thing that a lot of folks don't really give it a lot of credit to. And to me, I think this is probably the most important because you can't buy this. Money can't buy this. DNA I define as a log of decisions made by our ancestors. And when you are born, you are passed on the most current version of that log. And that's where you start. Now, within that log, you can go ahead and edit while you have that log until you pass it on. All right, or you mix it. But I have yet to meet, they've done a whole bunch of things in the lab, but they have not been able to provide like like great DNA. Yeah, I'll take that as a legacy all day.
That was beautiful, both of you guys. I love how, as expected, each of us kind of prioritized our pieces. So Chris, the financial side, you didn't say it was the only thing. It could be the health side. You didn't say it was the only thing. I think for me, legacy comes down to, obviously, let's acknowledge the money. I like how you put that. We do have to acknowledge it. There's a certain amount of assets, finances, et cetera, that I want to pass down that can help make my kids' life easier from at least a starting point in the game of Monopoly. I want them to have as much starting money in Monopoly as possible when they start the game. Maybe not as possible, but you get my point. After that, reputation, right on point with both what you guys are saying. At the end of the day, I heard this expression. It's an idea that you die twice. Once with your physical life is over, and the second time when nobody mentions your name any longer. I personally don't give a shit how long my name is remembered after I go. I just don't really care. But what I can try and do is at least have a trickle out effect of living by example, having certain beliefs and vocalizing those beliefs. So that way the world, the majority, I can do everything in my power to make sure that individual voices are not overlooked by the majority, by mass. I can't remember the exact term, but basically when everybody thinks a certain thing, it is so easy to just kick out the little outliers. But those little outliers are what change history. Those little outliers for me personally are what keep freedom, rights, all different ways of being ensured so everybody can live a life of their own choice. So I think the reputation, the beliefs, the living by example, and of course the health piece. I was fortunate to have like a solid 6 to 8 example from my parents on how to be healthy. I plan on upping that number. So, I guess the reason why I love this topic is because I know so many dads out there busting their ass just to bring in the money for the home. But are you taking time to consider, are you helping make sure your kids are going to have a enjoyable life experience? Do you enjoy your life experience? Because if you're not, you're setting an example that enjoying your life experience isn't necessary. And in the back of every dad's mind, it's like, I got to provide, and maybe your idea of providing is just bringing in the money. But if your health is suffering, if your mental health is suffering, if your familial relations are suffering, are you doing the right balance of things? Only you, whoever's listening to this, can make that decision for yourself on how this balance of the legacy you leave comes up. But for me, you have to look at a variety of things, because I just want as many people in this world, including my offspring, just community, whatever. I want people to be happy. I want people to find their way. I want peace, like just everybody else. And you would be shocked at how much we could begin to tackle this in the home if we just stop making legacy only about money. Your kids might have a bunch of money, but if they're miserable because they don't know how to take care of themselves and they don't know what to do, man, we can do better. Let's not get caught up in simply thinking about legacy in terms of money.
That's huge. That's huge. And again, to kind of dive in, Kobi, you said one of the things that it's important that we talk about a bunch here. And I think, thank you for bringing it up, because it does make sense in this legacy conversation, is mindset, right? It's mindset. Like, passing down mindset is a part of your legacy. Knowing how you thought about something, or the habits, right, that came from your thought process or your perspective on something, is definitely a part of legacy. It's definitely a part of what we are passing down or what we are remembered by. So I just think that part's important. Thank you for bringing that part up, the mindset part, the mentality part, because that stuff does get passed down. The DNA part's interesting also, right? We don't think of it that way, but it's true that that's part of the legacy. But mindset for sure is a big one for the legacy piece.
And if I can piggyback off of that and everything you said, I don't disagree with anything that you guys have said. But I do want to highlight this and provide this perspective on it as well. I believe Warren Buffett was either interviewed or wrote somewhere that he wants to give his kids just enough money so they feel they can do anything, but not too much so they'll feel like doing nothing. Right. And this is somebody worth what, over 100 billion.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. So he would know a little bit about what money does to a person. Correct. and what money provides. And I think that's an interesting perspective to have. And now why I think there's a lot of folks that would say that would leave everything to their kids, the entire empire. Right. But I think a few things. One, I think we underestimate the joy in the journey. The joy from going from here to here, of building themselves, right? I've spoken to children that grew up in wealthy homes who aren't necessarily proud or aren't necessarily motivated or don't have or their self-image is actually impacted by the fact that, like, they were just given a huge start, right? I'm not saying make your kids suffer just to make them suffer, but honestly, there's a little bit of value in that, right? Right, in knowing that, hey, listen, like, yeah, Warren Buffett could build his kids out of anything, right? So why not give them the gift of having to paddle upstream a little bit, right? And knowing that you weren't just handed everything. I think there's huge value in that. Give me the lessons. Give me the mindset. Give me the knowledge. Give me the introductions. Give me the way of, so I can do it, so I can make the soup myself. I don't want you just to make the whole meal and just serve me a plate. I think we underestimate that.
I totally think so too. And I'm glad we could have this conversation around Father's Day, because I'm sure a bunch of fathers listening or dads listening can understand the side. This is something that I, again, struggle with. That first generation of wealth building. The first generation of wealth building. How then do you transition? How do you pass that down? Because it's very close for us. You know, it's very close to understand that, like, I don't want to cripple my child or my children. I understand the process. I think what starts to, and I understand like the benefit of the journey. It's all we talk about. But I think on the other side of this journey, when we're at that place or whatever we're working towards, the good life, right? That side, how much of it do we not want them to experience too early, right? How much of what we just worked for do we now say, you know what, you got to experience it kind of on your own to a degree, right? That's the balance. We're not going to let them go all the way back to what we went through, because sometimes we don't believe that our children or the people around would be strong enough to go through the things we had to go through to get there. The things that we have to go through, again, it equips us. But if you look back over, if most people that like go to this, right, rags to riches, this first generation wealth building side, many of the people understand that you go through some things that you don't know that you want your children to go through. But what's the balance? You don't want to give them too much, but you got to give them enough that says, well, at least you don't have to experience that. But what's the balance? I think a lot of fathers, I think a lot of parents that are building struggle with that side. Because personally, like I do, right? Because there's no blueprint for this. You know what I mean? There's no manual to be like, oh, well, this is how much you should leave them behind. It's 1.2 million times what inflation is to, like, you can't, you know what I mean? There's no thing. So
many variables.
Yeah, right. And as a parent, right? Like your child could slip off. One trauma around something that could have been prevented could send your child into a life of something, right? Like that's really what happens. And so it becomes this, how do you balance it?
I'm so glad you just said that, because one of the main pieces of living by example that I'm trying to create for people around me as well as my kids is to show them that you can heal yourself. And it just requires introspection, identifying your patterns, identifying your triggers, trying to trace those back and working from those. Because if I can teach my kids to do that, then theoretically, whatever happens to them, they at least have some fundamental tools to build their way out. So that way, when they go to therapy, when they go to a coach, because something may have happened, they're able to get a better experience out of that because they understand how to self-heal. And I think that, I think the concept of balance of, providing versus challenging, that goes into everything. I mean, even allowing your kids to get out there and just experience danger in a careful manner for them, so they can actually, once they leave the house, they're not terrified to do anything. So balance is key, is really what I'm hearing from you saying. And I think it applies to all these different areas that we're talking about.
Yeah. And an interesting piece there. And you say there's no manual. Actually, I don't think it's necessarily a manual, but I really like a book by one of your favorite individuals, Chris, by Dave Ramsey, called Legacy Journey. I think he does a really great job of like kind of highlighting some of these things that come up. And whether you agree with all the things he sets out or not, I think he puts out some really interesting points as to how to approach this. So you have so I think what he says, like kids that aren't rotten inside out or whatever he says or whatever, right, from his Tennessee perspective, right, or whatever. But I think he raises a good point, because you're not really, to me, what you just said, Stu, and piggyback off of that to kind of connect it to what I'm saying here is like, I used to think, be able to provide and give everything to my kids. But then I was like, the older I get, and I'm a strong 31 right now, you know what I mean? So as I push along,
strong 31,
strong 31,
not a weak 31, strong 31.
No.
Strong side.
Yes, sir. Strong side.
Left side.
Yo, strong side. As I move along, I feel like it's less important for me to leave behind large sums of money than to be with, whether it's my children or my family, and not even just my offsprings, right? But to leave some of these lessons, because I really would rather have the manual. I would really rather have the exposure, all of that stuff that comes with it, than like a large account, because it's a cheat code. Quite frankly, it's a cheat code, and if you don't have the manual and like what to go with it, it can destroy you. It can destroy you. A lot of the stuff like having accidents or whatever. We all know rich kids love cocaine.
They do.
You know what I mean? So
Listen, that's what happens. Like I said, this is a balance. I don't think there's an either. It would be great to leave both, but a balance of both, right? Because they're also to the same point. There's some lessons they got to figure out, or they're not going to get until, right, they go through it. Similar to a little bit about what we were talking about pregame, right? Just that, like, some things you just got to go through and try and make sure that you're navigating it to see what needs to happen. So I think it is all balance, man. It's all balance, figuring this thing out.
Agreed. And I think, both you guys are kind of hinting.
Harmony.
Harmony.
Harmony. There we go.
Feasting your way to harmony. We'll talk about that later. Don't worry about it.
Go. No, I'm right there with you. Actually, when people would say the work-life balance thing, I always say work-life harmony. So it's true. It's harmony. That's what it is.
So one thing that you guys are kind of getting at here is the concept of, I believe it was a Bruce Lee quote, something along the lines of, I recommend you leave behind not material possessions, but knowledge. So really, I think fundamentally, a lot of people think about the material possessions, the assets, the money, but it's the knowledge. And for me personally, one of the reasons why I chose to go into business on my own is because I've witnessed so many dads being at work 60 plus hours a week and getting like an hour with their kid a day. And then, they need their own time to unwind on the weekend. I can't imagine like how all this would really work time wise. I want to be around my kids so I can help teach them and walk them through things. I'm not gonna do everything for them, but if anybody's gonna raise my kids, I want it to be me and my wife. So I just want to be present, and everybody's different. I bet you that a lot of people just got triggered at the idea of me presenting something different than the husband being away from the house for 80 hours so he can bring in the most amount of money. But just pause if you're triggered by that and ask yourself, like, did you want to be around your dad when he was at work all the time? Like, if there's a way for you to create this, if there's a way for you to find better harmony so you can have this family time, so you can be that role model, is that more valuable than the money you could bring in? I mean, theoretically, each one of us here, we all had potentially, different like financial starting points based off what our family gave us. But when we started these businesses, we all started basically these businesses from a $0 amount. So we are all.
I actually had 100,000 that was left by my great uncle. No, just
You know what that sounds like? The Africa scam that gets sent over, like, hey, I'm actually the prince.
Please only send 10,000. We'll get it to you right away.
Could be. We lose me. Everybody got frozen for a second.
Oh, anyways, I feel like I'm here.
No, we're here.
I think I'm here too. All right, cool. But really, just dads, just think about the quality time. Think about the lessons. Think about the experiences. My dad raised me from a place where he tried to do the balance of the financial, et cetera. But the one thing he drilled into me is I wish I had spent more time with my dad. I'm not trying to have you make that same mistake. That shit still gets me. If my dad is feeling that in his later years and he's trying to convey that to me starting at like 10 to 15, then there's something to pay attention to there. And I've paid more and more attention to that as time has gone on. And I want to make sure that I'm taking that lesson from my dad and I'm applying it even further to my kids, which is why I started this whole thing, because I've seen what corporate construction can do to a family. and I want nothing to do with that shit. So, anyways, that's my piece on this. Any other comments while we're here in this space right now? Before I take it to the next topic.
No, it's all this stuff is so important. And again, glad we could have the conversation around Father's Day. Quality over quantity, right? This is where it all ties in, because I really want us to have a conversation around, like, you can do all of these things, right? I know we're talking legacy and, right, what's, what it can be and what it doesn't have to be. But like, if you really understand that you can have all the things, that you can go out and provide for your family, you can create a great legacy for your family, you can be emotionally connected, spending quality time with your family and growing your children and spouse and those types of things. You can have a great faith life, spiritual life. All of those things are possible. That's actually why we hold the show. It's so you can understand that you can have all of those things. You can have a great health life. You can have a great mindset. You can have all of these things if this is what we focus on. If this is how we align ourselves, is to say these are the things that are priorities, and we can do it all, right? I'm a big believer in quality over quantity, right? I'm a big believer in quality over quantity, which means, again, just because I used to go back and forth with the people that had a job and people that are entrepreneurs, because again, we work a lot of hours. I work more than a typical person that has a job. I know this. I work longer hours. I work more time than the average person that has a job. And I would always say, just because you get off at 5 p.m. and you get a chance to go home and be in the presence of your children for 4 hours a night doesn't mean that that's what you're doing. It doesn't mean you're paying attention to them. It doesn't mean that you're connecting with them. Just because you might go in your man cave for an hour, you might need to go play a video game or watch a thing, and you're not really connected. Just because you're there for 4 hours doesn't mean that's the best usage of that time. Versus me, I might not get to get home at 6 p.m. I might not get a chance to have dinner every night because of just the schedule. But the hour and a half that I get with my family or my daughter is 1,000% their time, quality time. That hour and a half goes way further than even people that say I have 5 hours with my children, but it's not really quality time. It's time on your phone. It's time with the TV. It's time everybody's moving and doing things versus locked in. And I think, again, this all falls into what you prioritize and where you choose to spend your time for what you want your legacy to be. If you value your family and you want that to be your legacy, then you're going to put time in, even if you get off the job, even if, right, you're tired because you spent 60, 70, 80 hours a week working. That's fine. That's not the excuse to say, well, then my family gets less, right? It just means that you don't prioritize them as much as you're prioritizing the money. So we're just trying to get you to see that you can prioritize it all. All of it can be a priority for you, and you can give 100% in those areas. And that's how, again, getting to the good life, designing the life that you really want.
All right. So one thing I wanted to highlight here is the Oxford definition of legacy. Now, you guys have heard from us. We think there's a lot that goes into this. So the Oxford definition of legacy, an amount of money or property left to someone in a will. I looked for other sub-definitions or anything else mentioning what legacy could be. That's all that Oxford has in there. So according to, the dictionary gods, legacy is about money. Well, I think here on The Good Life, we're hoping to change that. We do not want you just thinking about money. It is important. It is a massive energetic way of exchanging all different types of things, but it's not it. So dads, please take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you trying to leave a legacy of just money? Is there something else that you want to leave behind? And as we direct this to dads, I actually want to give a shout out to a specific link, All Pro Dad. Pretty big fan of this website. Pretty sure a bro dad, potentially with a dad bod, put this together. And actually,
wait, are they sponsoring us?
Oh man, we might get there. We might.
So that's a no. That's a no.
It's a hard no.
Okay,
That's a hard no. So scroll down a little bit to the first line. 10 ways to leave a legacy. This is what they say. So live your legacy. So what I wanted to do here is let's have like just a quick 15 to 30 second just pitch on what it means to each of us to leave your legacy, or to live your legacy, excuse me. See if we can inspire some people here.
B, you got it. I'll go. It's all good.
Wait,
Living
what am I?
He's like, what? He's like, what's happening here? So what it means, in my opinion, to live your legacy is really just being able to the saying that comes to mind as I think of this is like, kids don't listen to what we say, they watch what we do. Right? They don't listen to what we say, they watch what we do. And so if you can understand that, if you can just do the right things, living out whatever you want to inspire your children or pass down, live that way. If you want to inspire kindness and empathy, then live that way. If it's about integrity, live that way. But really, it's just about making sure that you know that kids are watching what we do, not just listening to what we say.
For sure. And I think you probably just take that off the screen. I'll just read the list now. Thanks for bringing that up.
Cool.
Kobi, what do you think? How are you living your legacy? What does it mean to you?
How am I living my legacy? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to know the answer to?
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's what the people that follow the good life want to know.
Well, you know, I got to give the people what they need. Got to give them what they want. How am I living my legacy? By living with passion each and every day. And I think honestly, you could probably stop right there, because I look at parents, and I think one of the biggest things that kids want from parents is to really see them like over the moon happy. Right? You know, parents have this thought kind of like your kids just, I feel like, having been a child, not yet a parent, I just want to see my parents living their best life and showing the example of like, how good can life be? Watching my dad, you know, work so hard, and although that provided a lot for us, it didn't necessarily tell me how good life could be. It showed me that maybe someday, sometime, maybe life will be better. Right? Not like right now, right here, life. And I'll say this, there were times definitely where I saw my dad more so in his element, where I was just like, oh, that's dope. Right? That's really cool. Right? So, you know, and so, yeah, that's what I'll say. That's what it means for me. And for me, what I realized too is like, me passionately pursuing the things that I want to pursue in life might be the best gift I could give my you know, whatever, you know, it's Father's Day. So let's just say kids. I hesitate to say kids because I ain't got no kids, and, you know, so, you know, and it's really interesting. So that's what I'll say. And I you know, Father's Day. So I'll point out this too. Mothers tend to spend a lot more time with their children. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it is then not so surprising that we spend like more than double on Mother's Day what we spent on Father's Day. When Kevin Durant goes up, he says, he said, Mom, you the real MVP, right? And I think this culture we built around dad, go do something and bring it back. Man, kids don't see that. They don't. As great as a provider as dad may be, they really, let me speak for myself. It's like, thanks, Dad. That's great. But mom's right there. Like, you know, mom driving me to school every day was far more valuable, because you get that like 2 or 3 kids don't even like to talk most of the time, right? I was moody as I don't know what. So my mom being able to crack through and get a couple sentences out of me every morning was far more memorable than dad coming home and making sure I got a roof over my head. You know what I mean? So I really take that to heart as a dad and as a man, and setting the culture, speaking of corporate athletes, but also setting the culture of the home. One of the things for me, Stu, to piggyback off of what you said, is I really wanted to create a business that allows me to just be around,
Yeah.
to like be there, right? I want if my little homie's not coming with me to work, I don't know if I want to be at that work. If they're not coming to me, you better be benching while I'm benching, right? I know we don't
Um,
actually bench in this household.
Bro, I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of people may hear you say that and be like, "That's preposterous. What do you mean you would want to be around your kid while you're working?" Ladies and gentlemen, before corporate, there were apprentices, and typically they were the son of the father operating as a blacksmith or a shoemaker, whatever. Like it was so common for the kids to be, as they come of age, like doing more tasks around the farm, around whatever institution was there to bring in money for the family. The kids were there. They were literally witnessing the dad's hard work. They were witnessing what he was doing. They were learning from it. But when you go off to corporate, your kids don't see you. They don't see what you're doing. They don't understand a work environment. Why do we think we have so many problems when kids go from high school to college and then bam, corporate? They've never seen it. It's brand new. So when you actually are around, Chris right now is a great example of somebody who's able to be around the house. He might be working a lot, but even when he has that concentrated hour and a half, outside of that, he's around. He's able to just duck downstairs and see what's going on with the family. So I think,
and even important on that side, and I thank you for bringing that up, Stu, but even important on that side, like my daughter knows what work looks like. She knows what work looks like, right? Because she understands when daddy's working and what that looks like and what type of concentration, what type of time is needed. And there's a boundary there. Like she sees it 1,000%, but she also understands the other time, right? She understands that just prior to recording this 2 hours ago, we're wrestling in the living room for 30 minutes. She gets that randomly just because, right? Because that was like the second time in the day that I got a chance to spend time with her. But again, that 30 minutes of wrestling means way more, right, than a lot of the other things that I'm probably doing throughout the day, or to her understanding what I'm doing throughout the day. So, right, it's always remembering those types of things. That's why we build a business. That's why you build a business.
Amen. Well put, man. All right. So for me personally, living my legacy is being an individual. I really cannot emphasize the importance of individuality it seems to be becoming lost in our society. Being an individual, being my authentic self. So let me just summarize all this. Authenticity, healing. It's literally what I feel called to do, and it's why I do it for a profession. And I that is the impact and legacy I want to leave as an example for my kids. It's one that I got from my parents on how they spent their time outside of work. And, I was going to get into this. We may not have time tonight, but when you think about your legacy, you have a direct impact of what your legacy is, assets to your kids. It's very direct. It's going right to them. But you have an indirect series of things that you leave behind with your legacy, whether you know it or not. That's how you treat other people. That's the quality of your character. All of these things trickle out, because if the quote by Jim Rohn that we've all experienced, where you are the average of the 5 people around you, if we are all the average of the 5 closest people around us, every action, conversation, habit, lifestyle, just how you carry yourself, you influence 5 people who influence 5 people who influence. You can, if we all get our collective shit together and are able to understand self-healing, respect, boundaries, get out of our own heads so we can recognize that there are 7 billion lives around us that are equally as important to our own, we can literally change the world through generational healing. So to me, healing, authenticity is for me living mine. And then I got to end that with joy, because I like to have a lot of fun. I've witnessed too many people go their lives without a lot of fun. So for me, that's me living my legacy. I think it's up to every dad, every person out there, because this isn't just for fathers. Take a moment and try and figure out what it means for you to live your legacy. I'm just going to go ahead, given the time, and just show the remainder of those 10 items. So let's see. Am I sharing my screen? You guys see this right here?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. All right. So live your legacy. We already went over that. Live like you mean it. So I think to me, a lot of that, and fellas, feel free just to kind of chirp in with whatever like comes up for you here. For me, live like you mean it. That's the passion that I really felt could be when you were saying that, like really going at it. You know, everybody has like a different percentage of purpose and effort that they want to put into things. Find what really feels comfortable for you. Try pushing it a little bit. Try taking it back a little bit. Just find a way to like really get embodied with that. Love your life. Love like your life depended on it. And according to them, it does. And I would agree with this, because the more you can love yourself, the more you can love people around you, the more you can just love and accept and understand reality, your life is going to just immeasurably take off.
I think to double click on that really quick, like love in general, understanding what it is to love your family or show love to your friends or your coworkers, or just love in general, especially because we're talking about dads, is something that I think we could all work on. I think we could all figure out how to show a little bit more of, and really let that be something that embodies us. So that love piece is important.
Amen. You know, I've got some clients who are 40 plus that, you know, they spend all their time, you know, providing, that they forget to love themselves, and they forget to set that example, and they forget to like understand and connect and love with, you know, their family. So definitely something to keep in mind. Thanks for shouting that out, Chris. Keep a journal. For me personally, this one doesn't resonate too much. I don't foresee a lot of people reading through my journal. Curious if you guys have any comments on that, but if not, I'll just move on to the next one.
Video journal potentially, but not like actual written journal. But I can see kind of what we talked about, like Kobi said, like leave the knowledge behind, leave the lessons behind. You know what I mean?
Like recipes or photo books or for collage or time capsule, you know, just stuff like that.
That's how I think of it.
For sure. And the cool thing about, you know, the digital world, as long as, you know, this planet is able to keep electricity and the internet, you know, whatever we're putting out here content wise, fellas, I mean, theoretically, this is video journaling. Like long after we're gone, somebody may stumble onto this and be like, oh man, that Stu Williams, that could be Asare, that Chris Mouzon. I don't know, man. Mouzon. Okay, I always
it's not that hard.
The French just kicks in. I don't know why.
It's the French.
So where you go?
But yeah, you're right. That this is, you know, the video journal makes a lot of sense. Share the family stories with your children. Be honest. I think that's probably my favorite one on this list. Leaving an honest, authentic legacy. Because
I'm telling my kids all types of lies, man. Hey, pops was a pro soccer player. You know, I just had to quit because I had y'all.
Yeah. Just guilt trip the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Ground your purpose in a greater purpose. This one's interesting to me. I like this a lot. Everybody has the option to create their purpose. You know, I've never been one to think that a purpose has been bestowed upon us all by some higher power. I think it's up for us to kind of feel out and create that. But grounding your purpose as part of a greater movement, if it aligns with you, can be a really nice way to know that when the buck stops with your life, what you've been doing is still part of something that's moving forward. So it's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
I agree 1,000%. Attaching, a lot of times I've heard it said, what's the saying? I don't know, something about you needing a mission. Basically, people need a mission, right? People need a mission in their life. And sometimes like their purpose, it just has to be a part of a bigger mission that you can get behind and really know that you're doing the greater good type of thing. So I understand it 1,000%. It's a great way to leave a legacy.
Give your family the gift of time. Love this one. We've already talked about this. You've already heard our perspective on that. This one's very important to seemingly all of us. Live for others. Another one of my favorites on here. It is very tough, I think, to leave a poor legacy if you are living for others. You could completely botch the financial side of your legacy or just not care about it. But if you're living for others, you're going to have quite a proud legacy, I think, to bestow upon the world. And then, you know, finally talk about your vision after you've departed from this life. That's big. And it actually takes me into the topic, I'll go ahead and stop sharing, of reflections on death and how that is so important to just everything that you have going on the topic of legacy. Like, if you're not thinking about the fact that you do not have unlimited time on this planet, it starts making you think about the end date. You never know when it's going to be there. Are you preparing for it? Chris could, I'm sure, go in for like basically an entire episode on preparing for legacy, but financially. But you know, for a lot of our audience that may not be at the point where you're looking towards your later years, legacy may be a far way out. I encourage you to start reflecting on death, because it's going to bring up this idea of legacy, which may help apply the right amount of pressure for you to figure out what you want your purpose and the intention of your time to be while you're here on this planet.
It's huge. That's huge. I'll wrap it up with my 2 cents on legacy. Just, I'm glad we were able to touch on the fact that it's not just about providing something financially, because even though that is, again, something that I would attribute to it and many people would, we have to understand that's not all that legacy is. And us as men, and again, this episode geared a lot towards fathers for Father's Day, just remembering some of these things, that it's in totality, all of the things that you bring to the table. You're more than just the paycheck. You are the emotional, spiritual leader of your family, right? Like, you have to paint a vision and walk that vision out and continue to share it. And then again, like some of the stuff that we went over tonight, right? Just live it out. Just live it out. Speak it out, live it out, but not just from a financial standpoint, in all the other areas. I encourage every dad that's listening to really dive in and kind of think about all of the areas that you could be leaving a legacy, not just financially.
It's amazing, bro. So for me, as I sit here and think about legacy again, and it's kind of expanding as we move along. I'm fortunate that we've come to the end of the show here, but I think of, you know, historical figures, whether it be Jesus, Muhammad, Hammurabi, you know, Cleopatra, Alexander the Great, whoever, right? How many of them left behind large fortunes, or even any fortunes at all? But they seem to have had a great impact in terms of leaving a legacy, whether it's be with the world or with their individual small community or group family. And then I think about people in my life, bring it more local, who I remember, right? My uncle, my friend's dad, right? They didn't leave me any materialistic things. They left me maybe knowledge as to how to move around life. They spent time with me. So I think, you know, really expanding how we're thinking about this stuff, and appreciate you, Stu, for bringing that list to expand our thinking on this topic today. Because I think as fathers, oftentimes our role, our importance, and our contribution, not our, because I ain't a father, you know, I'm slipping here. You know, all right, so let me stop here for a second. But you know, the contribution made you know, is limited in scope, and it puts us just in this, it puts fathers in this tiny role, right? And I think it can be a lot bigger than that. And if we expand that, fathers lives could also expand, you know. So as Father's Days come up here, don't forget, make sure you tell your dad you love him, send him a little something to remind them, and make some time to spend with them too, and get them outside of their normal comfort zone, because I know this is what this conversation has brought to my mind, at least, to get my dad to expand his world beyond provider. You're more than just a provider for this family. You are the Draymond Green of this team. You're the heart, big and soul, right? Without all the tomfoolery, if you want to. That's your style. So appreciate that. If there's nothing, did you want to bring anything back in, Stu? Or you good? You straight? You solid?
I'm chilling. I love how this went.
My goodness, bro. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for sure. And so with that said, guys, you know, that's it for us today. If you guys like what you heard, even if you didn't like what you heard, make sure you subscribe. Smash that like button. Tune in next Monday for another good episode. Unless you're live with us on LinkedIn, make sure to sign up for that Good Life event coming up here real soon. We got the link at the beginning, link at the bottom of the page there. And make sure you share this episode with somebody. Guys, rate us, share us, help us get this message out there. You know, Pretty please.
Please.
All right. If that works
Please.
for you, let's get this message out there. All press is good press. And until next time, keep living the good life. We out of here. Peace.
Later, guys.
Welcome to the good life.
All right, money man.